Hey everybody, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into it. We are now on number 2 of Uncle Paul's top 10 job interview tips for 2021, not 2020, since 2020 is for the most part almost over. We're heading into that November, Thanksgiving, and holiday season. But if you do know somebody who's getting ready to go into a job interview and has the good fortune of that, and I wish you the best of luck, share this video with them, share this video series with them. I think there's good information to consider because, again, I say that because I've run into people that still do these things, that still struggle with these things when I'm hiring and interviewing them. Guarantee you, there's a reason that I'm bringing these up is because people are still doing it. So share it, listen to it, adhere to it. Make sure you're set up for it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here before we get to number 2. Not going to get into the summary title. You can catch that in the first video of the series and where I cover it in detail, or you can pause it here. And I'm not going to get into a lot of these in terms of rehashing everything. Please watch the prior videos, and I think it's good exercise for you to go through. If you're just catching this at the number 2 spot, go back through and listen to number 10 all the way through the full series. Number 10, show up early. If you're meeting in person, log in early. If you're not meeting in person, again, use your judgment. Don't log in or show up an hour early. That's not what you want, but give yourself enough time so that even if you have to wait in your car, you show up a half an hour early. Don't make your way up to the admin's office until 10, maybe 5 minutes beforehand. 15 minutes is acceptable, but you don't want to be too early. Plus, it makes you look a little bit desperate. If you're meeting virtually, like I said, I'm not going to rehash these. I've started doing anyway. Number 9, make sure your technology is working. No one owes you anything, especially if you're applying for an IT job. Don't do it. Don't mess up on an interview for an IT job and not have your technology in order and not come in prepared. So I covered that in the first video, so you can go and listen then. Number 8, be precise with your answers. Don't be too short. Don't be too long. Be engage more in dialogue, and I cover that in the second video. Number 7, it's okay to gather your thoughts or rephrase the question or repeat the question and then delve in, right? Buy yourself time. Again, don't get nervous. Gather your thoughts and then answer. Number 6, don't throw shade. It's shade plus hate. Don't do it, whether it be your employer, your boss, or a teammate. No one wants to hear that or see that, and it gives everybody pause. Be prepared to ask good questions. Number 5, you should have a list of questions that you should have. If you're interviewing, you should have just a canned list of questions that you can just reuse for every interview that you're going on. And by the way, even if you know you're not going to take a job, and I didn't cover this in this last video or the second last video that we did, you should take interviews sometimes just to get in the habit of interviewing. It's just great practice for you to be prepared to interview. I actually love interviewing because, number one, I know my business, I know my resume, I know what I've done and what I can do, and it's just good practice. And I love being able to walk out of there feeling like it hit home runs. I do really well when I interview. So, again, I get frustrated if I don't get an interview, especially if I can get an in-person interview. It's all over. All the other candidates need to just cash it in. You're playing for second place, baby. Number 4, groom yourself, brush your teeth, dress up, feel good about yourself. Don't wear red Chuck Taylors to a job interview if you're meeting in person. I covered that in the last video. Number 3, never, never, never use your computer's internal microphones and speakers. Never do it. Don't do it. Not good. And again, if you do that and you're going to run into issues. I guarantee you, it's just not going to be a very conducive and productive meeting. So, or especially you don't want to do this for your interview. And now we're down to number 2. This is critical. Get ready for it. But I'm going to talk about this for a minute. Know your own resume. I can't tell you the number of times that I'm interviewing somebody and I ask them to talk about this particular skill set or this particular time with this company and ask them to walk me through things and experiences there, and they come up flat, right? They just can't remember it, or they fumble around. They're like, oh, let me see. I can't really remember that. Don't put it on your resume then. If you don't know and you're not prepared to answer every situation, all the statistics, I'm just going to read through this, right? You need to be familiar with the dates on your resume. Don't tell them it was 1996 and it was really 1992. Whatever that looks like tells you how old I am. I'm getting long in the tooth. You should know your statistics about the companies you work for, right? If you work for, UPS in logistics, you need to be able to speak to about UPS, their processes and logistics. Otherwise, don't put it on there, So anyway, You need to understand the various speak to the various technologies, processes, and procedures that you use in your prior roles there. That's the whole point of this interview. You put something on your resume that brought you in to have an interview, right? So make sure that you're able to speak to that. And again, you need to know the dates and time frames when you did these specific things, right? You can't, say you worked in logistics and then you worked at J.C. Penney, as a cashier, and not be able to speak to that. So make sure you have the right time frames there. And it should be conversational when you're discussing, your history here, right? So again, apologies for making that change on the fly, but again, you don't want to just throw out everything and just read through your resume. That's not what they're looking for, right? Be, loose enough to where you can jump around in your resume, that you can answer the questions that they're targeting for you right now. And so if you're doing something recently, maybe they ask you a question that it doesn't necessarily pertain to your current or most recent position, but maybe you go back to positions and it'll give them a better example, or you can give them a better example that fits to the current job and what they're asking for. You need to be a little bit loose in terms of, and flexible in terms of jumping around in your resume. And then another, just quick important thing to do, have your resume printed up and just sitting in front of you, right? And try not to look down at it, but just have it in a place either to the side of your screen or right in front. But what you don't want to do is click off to a soft copy or electronic copy on your computer and try and read from there. Because again, if you stumble and try and get back to the interview window, or try and mute yourself in case you have to sneeze or cough or anything like that, and you stumble, again, that's not what you want to do. Bite the bullet, pay for the ink, pay for the paper, run up to Kinko's if you have to, or FedEx, whatever that looks like. Again, I'm dating myself here, and print one off and have it ready so that you can just kind of glance down and refer to it, right? And have it spread out one. If it's 2 pages, have one on each side where you can just kind of quickly glance down and, take a look at it and be prepared to, reference it in case you stumble, or, maybe they refer to something, maybe there's a misprint or a typo. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what, there is a typo in there. Shouldn't be. I mean, you should have your resume up to speed and there shouldn't be typos, but maybe there's just a, one numeral off in terms of the date that you have there, right? So just correct it and move on. People aren't going to kill you on that typically, but again, you should know your resume back and forth like the back of your hand. So again, that is number 2. If you know, again, of somebody who's getting ready to go for an interview and you want to share this with them, I encourage you to do that. Have them run through the whole series here. I think it's good, useful information, coming from somebody who interviews quite frequently when I'm working for a company, a consulting company, and I have to interview with clients, or whether I'm the hiring manager. So again, I think there's some good information there that's useful. And then do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and hit the alert button. And we will talk to you for number 1. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to talk to you at the next video.